At my husband's older sister's wedding, my son only took one piece of cake, yet my mother-in-law slapped him so hard he fell in front of all the guests. His innocent words immediately made the groom's family call off the wedding. The piece was barely bigger than Noah's palm. A server had set it beside the coffee station, and he was still looking for me before taking a bite when Denise crossed the reception floor and struck his cheek. His knees hit first. The cake slid beneath the ivory guest book where guests had been writing blessings for the bride. My husband, Owen, reached us before I did. I thought he would confront his mother. Instead, he caught my wrist and whispered, "Mara, not today. Lindsay has waited years for this wedding." Noah pressed one hand to his face. His blue fox bracelet had snapped in the fall, leaving the little charm beside the cake. Denise pointed at him. "That display was for the groom's family. He needs to learn that wanting something does not make it his." I lifted my son. He sniffed once, then looked at her with the careful honesty only a child has. "But Grandma, you said the children who need quiet rooms paid for all this. Why can't I have one piece?" The groom's mother stopped walking. Barbara Hale's Family Foundation had recently approved a large grant for a sensory room at Mercy House, the community center where I worked. She knew exactly which children Noah meant. Denise's face tightened. "He is upset. He does not know what he is saying." Noah leaned closer to me. "You told Aunt Lindsay the Hales would find out after the wedding, when it was too embarrassing to take the money back." Adrian, the groom, turned from the altar. "What money?" Denise laughed too quickly. "A 5-year-old overheard adults discussing bills." Barbara crouched, picked up the broken fox charm, and studied the red mark across Noah's cheek. "Please pause the ceremony," she told the coordinator. Denise stepped between them. "You cannot pause a wedding over something a child imagined." Barbara rose. "I am pausing my son's wedding because you hit a child and became frightened by what he said." For almost 8 years, Denise had treated every boundary as an insult. She used Owen's spare key, opened my mail, rearranged my kitchen, and once collected Noah from preschool without telling me. Owen called it family help. Lindsay was sweeter. She called me the sister she never had, but every favor carried a hidden bill. I kept peace because Owen said Denise had held the family together alone. Then Lindsay met Adrian Hale. He worked for his family's foundation and never showed off his money. Denise showed off enough for everyone. Within weeks, Denise told people Lindsay had inspired a sensory project at Mercy House, though Lindsay had never volunteered there. I managed family programs at Mercy House for children overwhelmed by noise and sudden changes. The blue fox on Noah's bracelet came from our Calm Corner program and appeared on every approved document. 3 months before the wedding, I found a glossy card on our kitchen counter. It announced that the Hale Family Foundation, in partnership with Mercy House, would build a sensory wing inspired by Lindsay's years of service. Beneath it was my name, printed as project director. I read it twice. Owen came in and avoided my eyes. Lindsay needed someone connected to the center for the proposal. "It is only ceremonial. I never approved this." She said Barbara already knew you were helping. "Barbara has never spoken to me." He rubbed his neck. "Please do not embarrass Lindsay before the wedding." Lindsay called it a draft and promised to remove my name. Instead, the same wording appeared in a church bulletin and a neighborhood post praising her fundraiser. When I asked Denise where donations were going, she smiled at her phone. "Some women are happiest when they are counting other people's money," she said. "Try being proud of your family for once." She said it in my kitchen while her spare key still hung from her wrist. I called Celia, Mercy House's executive director. She was traveling, but she told me no project had been approved and no one had permission to use our name or letterhead. She asked me to forward everything. Before I could, the glossy card disappeared from my desk. Owen said he had thrown it away because the issue was upsetting me. Then he asked me not to involve Celia until after the wedding. That was the first crack I could not explain away. I changed my work password. 2 nights later, I found my laptop open on the dining table, though I had left it zipped in my bag. Our printer was blinking blue. Owen said Noah must have touched it. Noah shook his head. "Grandma printed the Fox papers. Denise had used her spare key that afternoon. When I confronted her, she said Lindsay needed an old charity budget for formatting ideas. Then she touched my arm as if comforting me. You make everything sound dirty because you hate seeing Lindsay chosen," she said. "Do not become the reason Owen regrets marrying you." I looked at my husband. He stared at the floor. The wedding invitation arrived the next day. Inside was a cream card inviting guests to donate to the Mercy House Sensory Project instead of giving gifts. The blue fox logo was printed at the top, but its tail curved the wrong way. I scanned the code. The page used photographs from our website and words from a handbook I had written. At the bottom, donations were processed by Little Lantern Outreach. I had never heard of it. Lindsay claimed her event planner created it as a temporary fundraising partner. When I asked for its registration, she hung up. That evening, Owen claimed the Hales had approved everything, and the money would reach Mercy House after the wedding. "Why after?" I asked. "Because the foundation has accounting rules." His answer made no sense. I said I would call Barbara directly. His kindness vanished. "You will destroy my sister's marriage over a website? I am trying to find out whose name is being used." He pushed the food away. "You are family by marriage, Mara. Stop acting like you control every decision." Denise's voice had come out of my husband's mouth. The next morning, I tested them. I texted Denise that Celia had returned early and wanted to meet the wedding donors. Denise called within a minute. "You had no right to involve your boss." I thought this was approved. "It will be approved after Lindsay is married and the Hales understand how much attention it created." It was not proof, but it was enough to keep digging. The day before the wedding, wedding, I opened our printer app because the machine had stopped connecting. The history showed several document names: Mercy House partnership letter, restricted grant requests, Hale Foundation event budget, post-wedding board appointment. Each file had been printed from Owen's account. He admitted Lindsay had emailed them because her printer was broken, but claimed he had not read them. Then why did you print each one twice? He looked toward Noah's bedroom. Because Mom asked me to. I slept on the couch. By morning, Owen was apologetic. He said no one had stolen anything. The paperwork had only been prepared early. Adrian would sign a foundation committee form after the ceremony, allowing Lindsay to oversee the project and correct the filings. Why would Adrian sign foundation papers at his wedding? Owen pressed his lips together. At the venue, I noticed the ivory guest book beside the altar. A silver pen rested across its cover. Denise guarded it more carefully than the rings. I watched Lindsay slide a thin packet beneath the back cover. When I reached for it, Denise closed the book with both hands. What is underneath? A surprise for the couple. Then she raised her voice so nearby relatives could hear. Mara has been difficult all morning. She hates not being the important woman in the room. Owen came over and told me to take Noah somewhere quiet. In the side hallway, Noah held up his blue fox bracelet and asked me to tighten it. Grandma has one of your fox papers, he said. What paper? The one inside the white book. She said Uncle Adrian has to sign before he eats. Then Aunt Lindsay can move the children's money so nobody asks you questions. I asked him when he heard that. At our house. Grandma thought I was asleep. I could have grabbed the book, but every document carried my name. Without proof, Denise would call me jealous and Owen would help her, so I watched. I watched Denise order the coordinator not to move the book. I watched Lindsay tell Adrian there would be one quick family signature before dinner. I watched Owen avoid my eyes. Then Noah took the cake. After his words, Barbara ordered the ceremony paused and Denise tried to remove the guest book. Adrian reached it first. What is inside? He asked. Lindsay stepped between them. Just a wedding surprise. Then show me. Her hands began to shake. Denise turned on me. You filled that child's head with lies because you could not stand seeing Lindsay happy. The guests nearest us heard her. Owen moved to his mother's side. Mara, tell Barbara this is a misunderstanding. My son had a red handprint on his face. My work name was tied to a false fundraiser, and my husband still wanted me to protect the people who had created it. Was I wrong for feeling my marriage end right there? If you believe I was right to choose my son and those children over family comfort, please leave a like so I know I am not alone. If you think I handled it badly, tell me in the comments. I have replayed that moment many times. I took the broken fox charm from Barbara and placed it in my purse. I cannot explain everything in the ballroom, I said, but I can show you why Noah's words frightened them. Barbara asked the venue manager for a private room. Adrian told him not to let anyone move the guest book or donation cards. His father, Thomas, asked the musicians to stop. We entered a boardroom behind the reception office. Inside were Barbara, Thomas, Adrian, Lindsay, Denise, Owen, the venue manager, and Elaine, the Hale Foundation's attorney. Noah stayed beside me, gripping my dress. Adrian placed the guest book on the table. The packet underneath was titled Consent to Committee Appointment and Retroactive Project Authorization. His name appeared on 3 signature lines. The pages would appoint Lindsay as a temporary voting member of the Foundation's Grants Committee. Another section would approve launch expenses, already paid by Little Lantern Outreach. The final page certified that Mercy House had received the full grant and authorized Little Lantern to manage vendors. My name was typed below it. The signature looked like mine from a distance, but the last letter leaned the wrong way. Elaine asked who prepared it. Lindsay looked at Denise. Denise looked at Owen. Owen said, it was supposed to fix a timing problem. Barbara's voice became quiet. What timing problem? No one answered. I opened the printer history and sent Elaine screenshots. She scanned the donation code. Little Lantern was not a registered charity. Its contact address matched a rented mailbox near Denise's house. Lindsay was listed as the payment account manager. Denise lifted her chin. That proves nothing. The account was temporary. I called Celia on speaker. Did Mercy House authorize a fundraiser connected to Lindsay Little Lantern or this wedding? I asked. No, she said. Our legal office issued a preservation notice this morning. No employee, including Mara, could sign a grant agreement without board approval. Celia said Mercy House had preserved the website and payment records because the page copied protected material. Denise pointed at me. Mara created those materials. Maybe she reused them and now regrets it. Owen flinched. I saw it. So that is the plan? I asked him. Use my name, then say I did it? No one was going to blame you. Elaine turned the screenshot toward him. Your account printed the grant request. Did you provide access to your wife's files? Owen sat down. I gave Lindsay an old folder, he said. Mom said the foundation money had already been promised and the paperwork only needed to look complete until the real project was approved. You knew my name was on it. He closed his eyes. Yes. Owen had not been weakly avoiding conflict. He had helped create it, then asked me to stay quiet so he would never have to admit it. Adrian asked how much money the foundation had released. Thomas opened the foundation portal. Because the grant was marked urgent and tied to a public launch, an initial payment had been approved before full committee review. The amount was $85,000. I could hear Noah rubbing the loose string where his bracelet had broken. Barbara looked at Lindsay. Where is it? Lindsay began crying. She said Denise handled the account. She only knew vendors had been paid because the wedding was close to cancellation and her credit cards were full. The venue manager returned with invoices. The country club deposit, flowers, photography, shuttle, and cake had all been paid by Little Lantern. The transfers were labeled Sensory Equipment Launch, accessible transport, and family documentation. Even the cake had been billed as community celebration food. Noah had been right. Money meant for children who needed quiet rooms had paid for the cake Denise hid him for touching. Thomas removed his glasses. He had built the foundation in memory of his younger daughter, who had lived with severe sensory challenges. Denise had built the lie around his grief because she thought it would make him less cautious. The final printer file exposed the rest. After marriage, Lindsay would join the grants committee, approve the wedding expenses, and hide the remaining money inside a project reserve. A smaller sensory room would be announced later. The email chain showed Denise directing every step. One message read, "Adrian will sign anything inside the guest book because he will think it is marriage paperwork." Another said, "Once Lindsay is on the committee, the family will protect her rather than admit they funded a wedding." Lindsay had asked, "What if Mara notices her signature?" Denise replied, "She has spent years swallowing things for Owen. She will swallow one more." I read that line. My hands stopped shaking. Denise began talking rapidly. She said the wedding created publicity and she still planned to build something for Mercy House. Then she turned to Thomas. "You would never have approved Lindsay if you knew she had debt." "I was protecting my daughter from being judged," Thomas answered. "You used children to purchase an image for her." Lindsay removed her engagement ring and placed it beside the unsigned packet. "I did not know Mom had taken that much," she told Adrian. "But I knew the page was not real yet. I kept telling myself we would fix it after today." Adrian's eyes filled. "You planned our marriage around the moment when it became too embarrassing for my family to say no." She whispered, "I was afraid you would leave. I would have helped you face debt. I cannot marry someone who made deception the price of staying." Denise insisted they could still hold the ceremony and settle everything privately. Adrian looked at Noah's cheek. "No," he said, "there is no ceremony." Thomas returned to the ballroom, apologized to the guests, and announced that the wedding would not continue because serious questions involving trust and charitable funds required immediate attention. He shared no details. Denise tried to take the microphone. Barbara stepped between them. The guests who watched Denise humiliate my child now watched her lose control without anyone shouting. The church chair removed every donation card, and Lindsay's bridesmaids collected their bags. Owen stood beside me as if being near me could make us a family again. "I am sorry," he whispered. "You printed my name beneath a false signature. I thought they would replace it before filing. You let your mother enter our home and use the children I serve as cover." He reached for my hand. I moved Noah behind me. Near the coat check, Denise cornered me. Her makeup had streaked, but her voice carried the same certainty. "You caused this by refusing to handle family matters privately." I removed the spare key she had once left on my counter and placed it in her palm. "No. You caused it because you believed every locked door in my life belonged to you. Then I took it back. It is not your key anymore." I left with Noah in a car Barbara arranged. He fell asleep against my arm while the broken fox charm rested in my fist. I stayed with Celia while a locksmith changed our locks and secured my devices. Owen called repeatedly. I answered once and told him he could collect his clothes while Celia's husband was present. He asked if I was ending our marriage. "I am ending the version where your fear of your mother becomes my responsibility." The preserved records showed Little Lantern had paid wedding vendors, Lindsay's cards, and Denise's overdue property taxes. Denise and Lindsay entered a restitution agreement, surrendered the remaining funds, sold Denise's rental property, and accepted bans from managing charitable campaigns. They also received supervised community service and financial monitoring. Owen cooperated, admitted providing the files, and lost his job under his employer's ethics policy. Lindsay wrote me a letter. She admitted she had enjoyed being praised as generous while knowing the praise belonged to money taken from children. Adrian sold the ring and added the money to restitution. He never returned to the relationship. Barbara and Thomas honored the grant directly through Mercy House and funded the sensory room properly. I agreed to lead the family advisory group only after every safeguard was written down. Denise requested visits with Noah. I said no. Owen asked me to reconsider because she was his mother. I told him she could write letters that I would read first. Access to my son was not a reward for guilt. Envelopes arrived every Friday. I returned the defensive ones. The first I kept contained no excuse, only what Denise had done and what she was repaying. Noah did not ask to see her. He did ask about Owen. I allowed supervised visits after Owen began counseling and signed an agreement that Denise would not attend or appear unexpectedly. At the first visit, Owen brought a new blue fox bracelet. Noah accepted it but did not put it on. "Mom fixes mine," he said. Owen looked at me and did not ask me to make the moment easier. Our divorce ended the following spring. I sold the house. I did not want the kitchen Denise entered with her key or the corner where my name was copied. I rented a smaller place near Mercy House. The landlord handed me exactly 2 keys. One went on my ring. The other stayed sealed in Celia's office. At the sensory room opening, Noah wore his repaired bracelet. I had glued the original fox charm together, leaving a thin white line through its middle. He said the line made it look brave. The room had soft wall panels, dim lamps, rocking chairs, and a mural of blue foxes sleeping beneath trees. Barbara brought a plain vanilla cake from a neighborhood bakery, paid for with her own money, and asked Noah to cut the first piece. He looked at me before lifting it from the plate. "You do not have to ask," I told him. "It was saved for you." He took one bite, smiled, and carried the rest into the quiet room. I followed, turned the lock gently behind us, and felt the 2 new keys settle against my palm. The key on my ring opened our home, and Denise would never have a